because Kansas.
Oh, there you go. All right.
Oh.
Yeah, watch it. Yeah.
And that's how in the lane. Yeah.
Morning, I'd like to welcome everybody. It's kind of nasty out there. We're in the process of trying to decide if we want to do the caroling or cancel. Some on our list are already bailing, which is probably a preview of what's to come, and that very well may be the best thing to do. The last thing we want to do is have a caroling party and then have somebody have an accident, either serious or not so serious. Kind of would put a real kink in caroling if you ended up semi-tolling your car. And it doesn't take too much anymore to do that. We were coming a shortcut through Hot Club and some others, and I thought I had plenty of stopping time and had another car then coming along on King Graves right when we hit the stop sign. We might have been real close to an accident there. These anti-lock brakes, you really have to just trust them. I mean, the old inclination is you need to pump, and that's, you just put your foot down a hole, you grab hold, Okay, let's have a word of prayer. Anybody on our prayer list today? A lot of folks on our prayer list, but anybody new?
I have a teacher friend, Jeff Johns. He's had cancer now for the second time. I'm not sure if the prognosis is not good. But he has a real good attitude, a real good Christian attitude. But Jeff Johns, he's our music teacher. And
Is it Johns with an S? Did you say Jeff Johns? Any others? Yes.
Beverly's son, Sean, and Jessica, they were in an accident last night. So I don't know the results, but they're pretty shaken up over it. They're probably sore today. 4-car collision there on Atlantic and Genesee.
Sean and Jessica Cummins.
Cummins, yes.
Anybody else? Let's bow together. Thank you, Lord, for this new week. And we're mindful today of these that have been mentioned. We pray for Jeff Johns, and we pray for Sean and Jessica. And Father, we thank you for your love for us. We thank you for your word. We pray that you will bless us today as we study together. And thank you for the privilege of gathering together in a warm place and allowing one another to serve as iron sharpening iron, that we might learn from each other and hone our understanding of your word, and give us tolerance as we talk about these things with the goal of all of us being pleasing to you. Through Christ we pray. Amen. Let's open our Bibles again to Joshua chapter 2. And I said that in the prayer specifically so because although there wasn't any kind of a sense of rankle or a disturbance in terms of feedback from anybody last week, this is a delicate topic, and I don't want to come across as being glib about it when we talk about the role of Rahab in particular, when she not only gave cover to the spies, the 2 spies that came from Joshua and the children of Israel, but there are lies involved too. So let's kind of pick up where we left off last Sunday, not so much to make corrections, but maybe to expand and explore just a little bit more. Let's start with a couple ideas, and one of them I'm remembering that Maggie said, and I wanted to pursue that and we didn't get to, but Maggie's question was something like, how could she be, Maggie, how did you say it? How could she be a believer and yet a harlot at the same time? And I guess let's talk about that just a little bit. And again, I'm assuming we know the text, so let's go to Joshua 2 again and just read. Joshua, verse 1 and following. Joshua the son of Nun sent 2 men as spies secretly to Shechem, saying, go view the land, especially Jericho. So they went and they came into the house of a harlot whose name was Rahab, and lodged there. And it was told to the king of Jericho, behold, men from the sons of Israel have come here tonight to search out the land. And the king of Jericho sent word to Rahab, saying, bring out the men who have come to you, who have entered your house, for they have come to search out all the land. But the woman had taken the 2 men and hidden them, and she said, yes, the men came here to me, but I did not know where they came from. And it came about when it was time to shut the gate at dark that the men went out. I do not know where the men went. And then she really gave a misdirection. Pursue them quickly, for you will overtake them. But she had brought them up to the roof and had hidden them in the stalks of flax which she had laid in order on the roof. So the men pursued them on the road to Jordan to the fords. And as soon as those who were pursuing them had gone out, they shut the gate. So I've been thinking about this a little bit more, not in a profound way, because I don't know if I'm capable of that, but I'm just thinking about it more and more as we talked about the lineage of Jesus in our sermon last Sunday, and you can refresh your mind, maybe not right at this second, but sometime later by reading the essay that's in today's newsletter, that when we look at, I made a statement in the essay that there was no way that God could have brought Jesus through a pure human lineage. And you may take umbrage or disagree with that based on the idea that God can do anything, which gets us into a theological concept that is really challenging. It would be right to say there are some things God can't do.
I look at it as means that all those people are people. You're not going to find any family of people that have been righteous their entire life.
Well, that's it, and that's the point. And when we say that there's no way that God could bring Jesus through a pure human bloodline, well, you said, well, God can do anything. Surely he could have done that. Well, to do that would require that human beings not be sinful. And God can't make sin disappear from people that are sinners. So this makes our mind explode trying to think about things like this. But again, I'm not trying to stir up controversy by making a statement like that. I'm just trying to say, I did go on to say, almost with a little bit of sarcasm, it does seem like God could have cleaned it up a bit, you know. Okay, so there's no way we can get to Jesus, or that Jesus can be brought into the world without him coming through sinful people. But when we look at the lineage and when we look at stories like this, we say, well, surely it almost looks like God is picking the worst of the worst. And I'm wondering about that, if that's maybe part of his point, to try to get us to see that. Roseanne?
If everyone was perfect, there would have been no reason for using God.
Well, that's exactly right. Yeah. if there's no need for a Messiah, if God could, well, you might say, well, some are perfect and don't need a Messiah, but most everybody else does, but that's not how it worked. That's not how the fall and sinfulness of mankind, it didn't affect just a few of us. As Paul says in Romans 3:10, all have fallen short of the glory of God. And he goes on to say it this way: there is no one righteous, no, not even one. All of us are sinners. Who else had their hand up? Stephen.
I guess to get back to the two things. One, if you look throughout the lineage of Jesus through the line of Judah, you will see it's not always there, but there's a consistent strain of people in that lineage recognizing that they have sinned at some point. And not necessarily always repenting from, but at least admitting culpability and responsibility. For example, Manasseh was probably the worst case of Ahab, even though he didn't have to repent. He at some point said to God, I might have messed this up there. But and remember, and with Judah, remember, as God chose Judah because Reuben sinned and did not repent. Simeon and Levi, the next two born, sinned and probably did not repent after massacring that city. So going down the line, then Judah would have been next to him because Judah was able to say to Tamar, yeah, this was my fault. I didn't keep my vow to you. I'm responsible here. So two, though, to go back to the idea of Rahab being a harlot while still believing, her faith, and Nick brought this up last week, her faith is more out of fear than knowledge, because as she says, all of us in Jericho have heard what you have done, what your God has done to, elsewhere, and we are terrified. And so her faith is more out of fear. She doesn't know the law that's not good to be a harlot or things like that. Her that is something she does not know. It's easier for us to take as little teenagers, sometimes we have to stop looking at the Bible for our 21st century goggles here at night and morality and such, and always have to look at it and try to think more how things might have been then.
Even our worldview, sometimes we transpose that or project it on people all around. So Rahab isn't, if she has faith, we know that. This is a little bit, again, hard to comprehend because of some of our training as to how we get faith. And the passage that I can't get out of my mind is faith comes by hearing, and hearing by the word of God. So if the scriptures tell us, and we do, that Rahab did what she did by faith, then that makes me wonder, was she told to do something? Did she become enlightened, or was it just more of an awareness, as Stephen's referring to? She says in the story, and we could read a few more verses, but she basically, well, let's look at it. She says in verse 9, I know the Lord has given you the land. What does she mean she knows that? Is she speculating based on the problem that the Egyptians had with the children of Israel and the plagues and how the Israelites were able to make the Exodus? Is she hearing about journeys on the way? That God seems to be with them? So whatever, we can say, well, she's just basing her faith on rumors. I don't know. Did God speak to her in the night? Did she have a vision in the night? Did an angel come and say something to Rahab? There are 2 spies coming from Israel, and I'm telling you, you need to give them lodging, and you need to cover for them. We don't know. There's so much about the text that we're just not told, but it goes on to say, verse 10, and this is part of what Stephen was alluding to. This is Rahab, again speaking, and she says, for we have heard how the Lord dried up the water of the Red Sea before you when you came out of Egypt, and what you did to the 2 kings of the Amorites who were beyond the Jordan, to Sihon and Og, whom you utterly destroyed. And it adds in verse 11, and we heard it in our hearts, plural, our hearts melted, and no courage remained in any man longer because of you. For the Lord your God, he is God in heaven above and on earth beneath. So, whatever abbreviated statements those are about her faith is what part of the class. So back to Maggie's question, maybe she starts out as a harlot, and I don't know. Maybe she how can I say this? Maybe it takes a while for her to become educated. Maybe she doesn't even know that harlotry is wrong, although I have a hard time grasping that even in a pagan society. Then again, what do I know? I'm pretty naive about things. But we know that Rahab comes around. She does, I don't know that she snaps out of it, but she comes around. She comes to know more. But what I want to belabor just a little bit more here is this issue of, and this is where I said we don't need to be glib. Faith comes by hearing, and hearing by the Word of God. In my mind, I'm wondering, was she told to give refuge to the spies? And that makes me wonder, is this a case of a greater good? We say, well, not only was Rahab a harlot, but she lies. She lies repeatedly. And I don't want to try to, I'm not trying to justify the lie. I think it's wrong. But are there cases of greater good? Or maybe to state it in the negative, have you ever been faced with having to choose the lesser of two evils?
So wait a minute, Terry. Can I just go back? I'm confused about what you're saying. Are you saying that because she protected the inhabitants, she protected them when she said they weren't here? Are you saying that was wrong?
You weren't here last Sunday, were you?
I wasn't. I'm so sorry.
Well, we've kind of established that that's at least it's disinformation. It's mistruth. It's not speaking the truth. Someone came to her door and said, "Where are the men?" And she said, "Well, I know there were men here, and I don't know where they came from." She did know where they came from. And she went on to say, "And I don't know where they've gone." Well, she did know where they were gone. They were underneath the flax on her roof. She hid them. So you can call out what you want, but it's a form of prevarication. It's lying. She lied to the authorities.
Okay.
And the illustration that Ray brought up, or others talked about, if you're living in Nazi Germany and the Nazis come to your door and they said, "Tell us where Anne Frank and her family are," and you say, "I don't know where Anne Frank, I've heard of her, but I don't know where she is, and I don't know where she's gone." You're lying. But is it a greater good? Is it a lesser of two evils? What are you snickering about?
I'm just laughing at our founding fathers. I forget if it was Benjamin Franklin or John Adams, but one of them said, "History's written by the winners."
History's written by what?
The winners. And so which side of the story you end up on has a lot to do with who wins on the other side. If she had been on the wrong side of history, then our conversation about her would be different. The same thing about Nazi Germany. There's a book that's been written called, I'm going to get it wrong, Man in the High Castle. Anyway, it's all about Hitler winning the war. What happens if he had won the war? It's completely different. Japan, the whole West Coast is run by Japanese. It's very, very interesting from a historical standpoint. But anyway, that's why I was laughing. Because when you think about, what our founding fathers did was, you get right down to it, they rebelled. They rebelled, and had they lost, they would have all lost their heads. So.
All right, bring us back to Rahab.
So now we have Rahab, who is, who probably did not have a lot of choices in her life about
how she was going to live. So women in this society have usually no value and very little power. And so she has managed in the hierarchy to establish something. The woman was nobody's fool, that I'm convinced. And whether God told her, which I don't believe, but maybe, she looked at what was going on around her and picked a side.
Well, that's one way to look at it. We can say, and that kind of connects with Stephen, that they were scared very much, so they tried to go with who they thought was going to come out ahead on that. I have a hard time reading that as faith. Just honestly, that bothers me.
Well, David had faith and he did something knowingly wrong.
Well, you're right, but that's a different issue. Here, it's kind of like you're trying to make a choice as to what is the most expeditious or the most, what's another word I'm looking for here to describe it? The most expedient, or the same word as expeditious. The easiest way for you to get out of a bind. What's the best choice for you to make? And then you turn around and call that faith, and you applaud it as something that we ought to strive for, and that distorts the meaning of faith to me. So there's something more here, I think, than just Rahab looking at the odds and saying, well, I think I'll go with these guys because you've heard these stories about how powerful they are. That's where I'm wondering if something else was told to her that she came. Faith comes by hearing, and hearing by the Word of God.
But why isn't it faith for her to hear those stories and pick a side?
Well, it very well can be.
Yeah.
But you sounded like it was just maybe making a more expeditious choice for her, and no doubt it was. But she still applauded for making that faith choice.
Maybe she doesn't like being a part of it anymore and she's changed.
Maybe she sees a way out, but when the comment is made that she sees her countrymen melting away, she obviously wasn't comfortable with her circumstances, but she didn't have to believe those stories. Those stories were old. It's been 40 years since the waters parted, and a whole generation of people have died. They didn't necessarily have to believe that all of that was real. I mean, these people have been tromping around for 40 years on the other side of the river.
It's probably a package deal. It's not just about the crossing of the Red Sea. It's the Amalekites and probably all kind of other. I mean, you don't have a throng of 2 million people come working their way towards your land without having all kind of people out spying on them. So they were getting reverberations about this group that was coming their way. And it is fascinating, isn't it, how we sometimes think, well, this is such an old world, how do they even get their news? Well, they got their news, and they understood it pretty well.
40 years.
Yeah, well, that's just, 40, it's a cumulative thing. It's not just that now they're finally 40 years later hearing about the crossing of the Red Sea. We've got an idea that probably made history all over that land almost immediately. It just went out like the hottest story you could ever imagine. Vic?
Well, those that came to her had to know something was going on because they said, bring out the men who have come to you, who have entered your house. They have come to search out all the land. So they knew what those spies were there for.
Yeah,
How did they know that?
Maybe they're hearing conversation, or maybe there's a lot of ambiguity to some of this text, isn't there?
Well,
I guess the point I'm trying to make is I don't want to be glib, and I think we have to be careful here as parents and grandparents. Of course, this is a delicate story to try to tell to our children, especially if they get really inquisitive and start asking all kind of questions. A harlot, what's a harlot? But we don't want to just brush over, well, was it wrong for her to, did she engage in lying to those that asked her? Is that a minor thing? Do we look at that and say, in the big scheme of things, what's the big deal about that? kept these two spies alive, and it helped Israel to go into the promised land and defeat the city of Jericho and begin the conquest. And all of this is so critical to us having the Messiah. So don't get hung up about a little lie from a harlot to a pagan king's servants. That's no big deal. There's just something about that we have to be careful of, that we don't start making something that is bad not bad. So we could approach it, and this is the way that some have said. The book tells the story. It tells us that Rahab lied. It doesn't justify her lie. Well, that's what some of our brethren would say. But there are passages like the one in James that makes it sound like it does. She was justified by her works. She was justified. Her faith was justified. Her faith was put into action and was seen by what she did. Well, I guess we can get really picayune there and say, what was it that she did? Well, she hid the spies. She hid the spies from this pagan leader. But part of hiding the spies was answering the door and saying, I don't know who these guys are. I don't know where they went. I heard something about them and I have no idea. And maybe if you chase them that way, you'll, in all the time she's saying that, they're up on the roof underneath the corn stalks or whatever it is. All right, we got more.
In the first place, and the lie was just to cover up what she already done, just like the Nazis did with Kid Anne Frank.
Well, that's another way of looking at it. We get hung up on the lying, but she's giving evil. Well, it's not evil; it's good.
He had opened guilt, so he could cover up.
See, that again. What? If you've got a raging lunatic out there, we'll just call him a terrorist or whatever, and you're bringing people into your house and hiding, and this guy comes to your door and he says, where are the people you're hiding? You're not going to tell him, oh, I hid them in the auditorium or right around the corner. Go on in and have at it. So, I don't know. Is there a greater good or is there a lesser evil? Lesser of two evils. Nick and our Fred first, and then Nick and who? Ray? Ray, you were long before these.
Well, that's, you know, if you look in Judges 16, we have examples of where Delilah asked Samson 3 times what the secret of his strength was, and he lied the first 2 times, and when he told the truth, you know, look at what happened. And once again, I'm not saying you should lie, but, you know, there are evidently times when he should have just told her, I can't tell you, that's a secret between me and God, but, you know, the first 2 times he lied, he saved himself, and, you know, did he told the truth, they put his eyes out, and he was no longer able to protect the Israelites.
So, could the lesson be that, in the story of Samson, that it's very costly to tell the truth? I mean, it could be a message about not lying, but it also, some of these stories, our problem is, we just want everything to be simple. We just want it to be so black and white and so cut and dried so that we can resolve all of these problems. And I'm just telling you, welcome to Bible class, because life is not that easy. And sometimes it really takes a whole lot of effort to work our way through all of these things. And we may never figure out all the answers. If you think you've got the checklist for everything, here's what happens a lot of times. Mom and dads dig themselves in, and everything has to be just this way or that way. And it ends up that we lose the ability to have a dialogue or discussion. And sometimes our kids may listen, they may sit there and shake their heads when they're little, and then when they get older, they just express themselves by saying, I don't believe that. I don't believe that at all. Life is not that simple. And I don't know, I think sometimes it's just our desire to want it all to be cleaned up, just like I said with the lineage record, why couldn't God have made it a little bit cleaner? Why does he have to get all of the really black sheep involved in this? It just seems like God is trying to make a point to me that no matter what we did, it wouldn't be cleaned up. All right, who else had their hand up? Fred, and then we're going to Nick.
I just think that she was a sinner, and why was she sinning? I think God knows her heart. I think that in those days, could we stand the persecution that she was going through just to survive? Was she because she needed to live? Is that why she was doing what she was doing? Because she had to survive in those days and that time? How can we judge her?
Yeah, I mean, to me, it's a lot easier to cut her some slack than it is to cut David's some slack. You know, kind of like Nathan said to David, you have all these sheep, and you go and pick on the one sheep that doesn't belong to you, and then David ends up not only committing adultery, and some of you would say that Bathsheba had no choice in the matter. He's King David. He could have taken her life if she resisted. And maybe that's true, maybe it's not. I'm still not 100% sold on that. But then he goes about, one of his best generals, he has him executed to try to cover up the plot. So David is really, really guilty. I mean, and he knows the Word of God. Thy Word have I hid in my heart. I meditate on thy Word day and night. And so if anybody's accountable, it's King David. But God gives him, he doesn't give him a pass. David learns to be penitent. And it's a beautiful thing to see it. Nick?
It makes me think of something as simple as anger. Can we be angry and standing up for God or something and feel like we're doing right? But we know, James 1, verse 20, human anger does not produce the righteousness that God desires. So if we become angry and we're standing up for God, are we contradicting our faith or contradicting what God would like us to do? And essentially the same thing I said last week. When we're making these decisions and we're in the dilemmas, it has to be what decision shows love the most. Because that's one thing that always stands true, that God is love. And when you're in those dilemmas, which one loves most? If you're angry, stand up for God, hopefully God can produce something good out of it.
All right, who else?
I'm going to get in trouble with you for this, I'm sorry.
Go ahead.
Ron and then Jay.
Okay.
Okay. One thing too, might have a little bit whether it's right or wrong, is are you doing it to help yourself or are you doing it to help somebody else? Like, was Columbine or one of the ones where the guy asked the girl, were you a Christian? And she said yes. He shot her. What if the guy would have asked her, hey, is John Smith there a Christian? And she would have said, oh no. But he was. She did that to protect him, but she didn't do it to protect herself. I mean,
Okay, and so are you applauding Rahab here or saying she didn't?
she did it, I think she did it to help them, not to help herself. It did help herself too, but
Yeah, as you read the story, it seems like she helped herself quite a bit, because it almost seems like a bargaining chip. If I do this for you, now will you save me and my family? And we're going to, this scarlet cord thing is a beautiful story, and that's part when you guys come back to take down the walls of Jericho, you're going to see this cord hanging from my window. That's where we'll be. And the spies even agree. They cement the agreement by saying, if you don't keep your part of the bargain, forget about us saving you folks, because we'll destroy you with the rest of the city. If you let it be known if you spill the beans about what we're coming to do and all that, the deal's off. So it's just a complicated story, no matter how you look at it, on all facets. Who else? Last word, anybody? Jay, I'm sorry. Why would I want to cut you off?
No, it's fine. I talked to it. I'm going to get in trouble with you on this. I don't think every lie's a sin.
Say that again.
I don't think every lie is a sin.
Well, you won't get in trouble with me on that, because I'm struggling with that. And yet, to say that, to have you say that to me and the preacher say that back to you, I get nervous, because I think we're blurring the lines, and I think everybody out there wants to hear it plain and simple.
But it isn't. There's nothing plain and simple, which is why Jesus Christ died on the cross and why the law was done away with. Because this conversation in many ways reminds me of the law, where we want to say it's always this way. And the reality is those rules aren't so hard and fast. You know, one of the wonderful things about teenagers is they're so empirical. You know, there's a right and there's a wrong, and why can't everybody just, you know, tell the truth to get along? And, you know, they have a very pure way of looking at the world. There's nothing wrong. I'm not criticizing that. That's just how they are. But as we get older and we see more and more circumstances in life, then how we judge those circumstances gets cloudier. Everything's not as clear as it is to us when we're teenagers, and that's part of our growth process. That's part of what God wants from us.
Yeah.
And there's no way you can look at these stories and the stories in Germany, and that particular scenario has been repeated all over the world in war-torn situations where people lie to protect other people. And I'm sorry, there is no one that's going to convince me ever that that's a sin. If I'm lying to protect somebody's life, then that's a sin.
We have to, again, be careful there. Somebody told me after class last Sunday about the story again, which I read. They told me again about Corrie ten Boom, and she divulged who she was hiding and where they were, but God worked out a means to where it worked out for the good. So we may make up our minds when they're knocking on the door. If I tell them where they are, they're dead. But maybe God has another plan. So I think when I was Hannah's age, that was a time when somebody had, when the idea of situation ethics was really making inroads. Nothing's right or wrong, it depends on the circumstance. Well, I think some things are right and wrong, and we know they're right and wrong. But some situations are really ticklish. And that brings us, our brethren fought that so hard, and I think in fighting it so hard, we almost over-responded to where we did the very thing I'm talking about, where we started out, well, we're going to figure everything out, and we'll let everybody know exactly what's a sin and what's not, and there's not going to be any black and white. I know, I lived through that. I listened to all of that. And so we wanted to make it crystal clear, how do you follow God, and just, chart it out for everybody. Well, I'm sorry, it's just not that easy to chart. And somewhere along life, we find that there are sometimes we just have to do what is maybe the least odious thing. Or sometimes we're faced with two good things, telling the truth in this moment or saving the life of two spies who are a part of this Jehovah God team that is shaking the world, I think, for the good. So you choose the better good, and that is to keep these men alive so that they can go back and tell Joshua how to conquer Jericho. Closing comments. I know we didn't get what we're going on to chapter 3 next week. Anybody else last word? Keith, are you telling me that's it? Even with a trigger finger, surgery. All right. That's it.
Larry, are we meeting for the Carolyn? No.
We'll decide that in the next little bit.